Hola, pinche reinas. Soy Hermano Unidad. Yo regreso de DragCon 2018 y yo estoy muy feliz en mi corazón. Muy feliz. Gracias a todos mis amigos. Gracias a todas las madres en este día. En los Estados Unidos es el Día de las Madres. Y gracias a todos los niños con corazones puros. I want to tell you something about what happened yesterday at DragCon. As always happens at Gay Pride, here in Los Angeles and a lot of other cities, there were protesters out in front of the Los Angeles Convention Center, and they were the fundamentalist, extreme fundamentalist sort of Christian folk who hold up the signs that say things like, God hates fags. This one had one that said, ask me how not to burn in hell. It's funny to me because I'm Hindu. I'm like, whose hell specifically are you speaking of? You know, they're always like, you have to obey the word of God. I'm like, which one? I'm Hindu. We have a selection. Yeah, they seem to forget like that there are other faiths, you know, extant in the world. Hello. Um, so we had understood that there might be protesters, so we were sort of mentally ready for it. And when it happened, when we heard, I can't remember who it was, a manager from DragCon, someone who knows us, walked up to our booth on the floor of the convention and said, sisters, there are the protesters out front. And immediately, they said it to me, and I was like, okay, we tell Sister Berance, because she's got a loud voice, and she's pretty dynamic, and so I knew that she would be able to rally all the other sisters together. And we all came together, and within 2 or 3 minutes, we had organized who was going to stay at the booth and watch our business, and who was going to go out front. And we all quickly left, strode straight out of the main hall, across the lobby of the LA Convention Center, and out the front door. And I was at the back, and as we got to, as the leaders in the front, Berance, Sister Kamana Wanalea, Sister Harry Magdalene from Boston, from the Boston Sisters, Sister Electra Complex from here in LA. There's a picture posted on my Facebook page. You'll see us all in a line kneeling. I hope I'm not leaving anyone out who was there. I know Sister June Cleavage did not get to go out that day. She stayed at the booth. But we all arrived, and Sister Berance had the idea that we should all kneel and pray, or we'd agreed on it inside, I can't remember. And so we all knelt down in a line in front of the protesters, about midway between the protesters and a group of DragCon attendees who had sort of formed a wall, a human wall, about 30 feet in front of the protesters, and were jeering at them, combating the protesters' megaphones. And we got in between them, and we knelt down and faced the DragCon people and the LA Convention Center with our backs on the protesters. And we took a sort of a supine position of prayer. And I chanted the Gayatri Ganesh mantras to ask Lord Ganesh, the remover of obstacles, to bring grace to the situation. That was my thought of how to contribute in a prayer mode. But one thing that we did, two things that we did by doing that. One was, as we broke through the crowd to sort of occupy that open space in the no man's land between them, a cheer went up from the DragCon attendees. I guess, I don't know if it's that we were known, but maybe just seeing flashy drag queens appearing, striding, confident, and taking a performatively confident position, a purposeful position. We're, you know, evident that we're doing something to counter the negative energy of the protest. This had a great encouraging effect on the crowd. We relieved them of anger and strife and struggle and feeling victimized, I hope, and replaced it with sort of a hooray for the cavalry, joy and excitement and enthusiasm. To see sissies taking on an authoritative position of protection and proactive shielding of what we knew about ourselves and our community as being inside the convention. I mean, in this convention, there are children. There are wee children, little slips of things. And they're having experiences in public in a big official place like the LA Convention Center, the big hall where Al Gore was nominated to be President of the United States, to run for the office. They get to express themselves and wear glitter and chiffon and bright colors and be pretty and happy, both boys, girls, and those who don't know in between. It's happy and joyful and vulnerable and sensitive and beautiful, like a flower's beautiful. If you have a beautiful pink rose and someone's trying to grab the petals, you shield it. And this was the feeling upon the arrival of drag queens to get between the protesters, to counter the negative, abrasive energy of these protesters. And so there was a cry of enthusiasm. And after we had prayed on our knees for a minute, Sister Berancy got up and went and sort of got the crowd chanting. I'm sorry, I don't remember the slogan they all chanted, but it was something that was not angry, but to the point and joyful as a counter in unison to this abrasive electronic megaphone cacophony of shame and mocking and taunting and insulting. He kept repeating as I got up from my prone position, he kept repeating, "One flew over the cuckoo's nest, one flew over the cuckoo's nest, one flew over the cuckoo's nest," I guess trying to shame us as a bully does by calling us weird, little realizing that we revel in our weirdness and employ it dynamically for the benefit of all, especially our community and those who are vulnerable. I have flown across and over the cuckoo's nest of normative, repressive, patriarchal, repressive behaviors, structures, systems, and done so with joyful chiffon flowing out behind me, the coattails of which I hope have carried others along. Then the police came up to us, and security, DragCon security, also came up to us and asked us if we could help to convince the crowd to go back inside, because the police said that they were afraid that someone was going to do something that would necessitate arrest, and they just didn't want things to go down that way. And so we walked up to the crowd and we started to say to them, you know, the more we yell at them, the more it will give them power. They love it, they feed off it, they want to be the victims. So let's just unplug, let's go back inside and enjoy our convention. Let's not feed them anything. They'll be out here all alone, and they hate that. They hate that. If you touch them, they'll sue you. It's how they make their money. So don't confront them. They have great, bitter joy in being confronted. And everyone got it. And everyone turned around, and they went back inside the convention. And a police officer, I would say middle-aged, black male police officer, came over to me, and he thanked me and thanked the sisters for doing this, because he said, you guys have sway with these people, and so you did what we couldn't, and you helped us. And I said to him, well, that's kind of why we do all this, because we get their attention and we can deliver the message. So if you need us for anything, if we can help you, we're the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, please call on us. And we shook hands. And he was calm and he felt real friendly. And I felt really good about that. I love when policing is like that. Clinton instituted a thing when he was president, Bill Clinton, when he was president, of neighborhood policing, of increasing police budgets for neighborhood policing. I guess because he or whoever suggested it to him understood that when police know the community and work with the community, it's much easier to decompress and de-escalate because you're on a personal level and you know what to say, what to do because you're right there with the people. And I think that's an important lesson for all of us to know about how we want our policing to happen in our communities. We want our police to be friends and to know us and us to know them so we can agree together on how to de-escalate and then solve conflict and violence and crime. We went back inside and DragCon security came up to us and repeated the same message and said, we know who you are and we are so grateful that you were here and that you did what you did. And we said, if they come back tomorrow, you come and tell us. And this morning when we went into the convention for the last day, I wasn't there, but Sister June Cleavage said that one of the security officers made a point of coming over to her and saying, you know, I know you guys. And if they come back, I will come and tell you. We've heard they might be back around 1. I will come and tell you. And we prepared ourselves for their return at 1. But they didn't come back. It wasn't the Westboro Baptist Church. It was a like church in, I believe, Orange County that loves to drive up for Pride. In the 90s, we'd see them at Prides, and they would be about 30 strong. In the early 2000s, we'd see them at Prides, and they'd be about 10 to 20. And in the 2000 teens, we see them here and there. Sometimes they're at Pride, and sometimes they're not. And they're about 2 to 5. All this is not to say, yay, sisters. All this is not to ask you to enjoy my story and, you know, yay. This is a parable for contemplation by everyone in every community in which LGBTQTTIIAA matters, in which others matter, in which black and brown, foreign-speaking, foreign acculturated, here legally, here illegally, but working hard, Asian, freshly arrived or of generational descents, Native American, certainly, women, disabled, all of the categories of us that the mainstream defines as marginalized or marginalizes actively, can take this story of what happened to us yesterday as a primer on what to do when you are faced with conflict and oppressive conflict. You don't have to answer with shouting and belligerence. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. When AIDS hit, Queer Nation and ACT UP knew it was going to take the full anger of the community to wake these people up and force them through shaming them into action. That is where anger and shame can be employed for the greater good. But in situations like this one, you can employ your creativity and your joy and the strength you have derived from your creativity and your joy. And all you need to do is walk out into the space in the middle of the conflict and put up a shield of your presence and joy. Just stand there and then do something that disempowers the negative, the ones who are ruining it, the ones who are peeing in the cornflakes, the ones who are trying to get an upper hand, oppressively and hurtfully. De-escalate them, disempower them, and give enthusiasm, support, joy, triggering the remembrance of who you are and your fullness and love and happiness to the people who are being victimized, who are either having a hurt response or an angry response. Take the power away, unplug it, give a joyful, loving, enthusiastic reminder of who they are to support your community that's been victimized. And if you use your creativity, whatever your art is, writing, dance, theater, performance art, drawing, painting, you can make something, a sign, performance art like we did, dance, just go in the middle and dance. You can make something that accomplishes this. That if you throw this little moment of art into that middle, goes, okay, don't look right into the eye of the basilisk. You'll turn to stone. First of all, the basilisk is just a little lizard on a rock. And you have all this joy over here that you're going to be really happy participating in. So let's go over here. Forget them. The police will take care of them. How do you know what to do? Trust your intuition, your imagination, and what do you know pleases you to do? Are you good at crafts? Are you good at dance? Or are you good at organizing? Are you good at asking questions? Are you good at journalism? Are you good at getting other people to pitch in? Are you good at behind the scenes? What do you do and do well? Find your way to employ that. Say, here's a situation. Here's what I know how to do. Where do they meet? Ask yourself this question. And trust your intuition as you mull it over to come up with something that you can contribute. Maybe just start making things or writing or doing whatever you do. And the process, going through the process itself will introduce an idea and it'll morph and you'll get a better idea, or you'll add to the idea, or you take things away, and something will come out. But engage the process knowing that you have the power and the responsibility to care for the world in this one place and time by standing up for what is good and right, and doing so with the confidence of your joy and the skill of your creativity. I want to know about times when you have done this, and times when you plan to do this, and in the future, times when you are doing this. I would love to hear these stories. They are important. And if you share these stories, hopefully they will inspire others to know that they can stand up at the right time and place for the good of the world as manifested in one moment, one community, even with one person. Even the right word choice to one person in the right time can change that from a negative to a good, or to a surviving. And that is good for the world. So you tell me your stories now. And happy DragCon.